So again, from here, I would then go to set framing assistant, which is going to do the same thing as it would here by moving or getting my box and pulling it across. So think of it as fetch when I hit framing, set for framing. Now, while this is loading, which I will say, this is one downside I see to it, but I do believe it's because of the image sourcing that I'm using, which is STSI Sky Survey. I say STSI, it's STSCI Sky Survey. I've tried these other ones, and I just like the look of this one better. So there's other items you can use. I just like the way that this looks. So it does take a little bit of extra time to load, but you don't have to use the Sky Survey. You can use any of the other ones to look for it. It will give you the coordinates, the name of it, and it'll give all your camera parameter information so that you'll know how it's going to look in your sensor size. So here she is right here. And again, just like SGP, I'm not doing anything different. Left click, hold, drag around, do whatever I want, right? If I wanted to do mosaics, that would be right on here under targets. So I can do my mosaics there. I can change my overlap percentage, like you can do the same thing with SGP. And of course, you can change your rotation if you're using a rotator. Now, here's where it gets a little bit different. So I can do a replace a sequence or add a sequence target, which is the same thing of creating sequence here, amend or replace, slew to and center on, all the same. There's no change, there's no difference. They're almost identical in this sense. Here's what makes this a little bit different. From this point, I don't know if y'all do the same thing that I do, but before I get started taking an image, I like to be on the object or near the object or somewhere close to the object so I can do a couple things. Number one, I want to run guiding assistant at a PhD before I get started for the evening. And number two, I usually want to take a couple of test shots, like 30 seconds, 60 second, 90 second, so I can get an idea of how my histogram is going to look, or how much is my median values, my sky values, so that I can make a determination before I commit. So you can do that by just hitting slew, and you can hit slew. Once you hit slew, you can still go and replace as a sequence or add as a sequence. But you would hit slew, your scope's going to go off to this part of the sky, and it may be over here, maybe down here. It's going to be somewhere near it. It's not going to be exact, but the difference is that you can then plate solve. And once it gets over that stuff, it'll plate solve it there and then ask it to recenter, and it'll pull it right back where it needs to do without ever even starting your sequence. So a little side note there. Okay, so replace the sequence target. Here's where we're at, and this is where we're at. Right now, we're both on the same page, which is going to be M101, and we are at M101. Now, a couple of things. Start guiding. Click that on, slew to target, center target. These are basically all the same things that you're getting right there. Slew and center, and then of course I got to uncheck rotate on this, otherwise it gives me false information. Other than that, it's exactly the same. It actually pulls the graph over so I can see visually where the object's going to be and at what time. It also gives me all my information for the J2000. And here's where I would start it. So just like enable, on off is the same as a check mark. Progress is the same thing that you're going to see over in, I don't have it open. Where's it at? Well, sequence, there it is. Sequence, same thing. In fact, let's dock it right there so we know where it's at. Or actually, I may have already had it. No, I don't. It's filter well. Total, so same thing. What I would do here, how many exposures am I going to do here? So I'm going to say 100, which would be repeat, excuse me, not exposures, repeat 100. Then we have time, so how much time. This is always going to be in seconds, so let's just say 300 seconds right here, which is the same as exposure over here, so it would be 300, whoops, not 3,000, 300, and then do an S for seconds. The type, so this is going to be a light frame, though I can also add lines, so I can put in flat, darks, biases, dark flats, and snapshots. Same thing, so it's what you're going to do here, right? Light, dark, flat, bias. I can do all that choices here as well. I choose my filter, my binning, which would be 1 by 1, and right now you're not seeing anything because my camera's not connected, so it doesn't know what it's supposed to be reading. Dithering, I can control from right here and then choose how many frames I'm going to dither per shot. Now, in order to do that with SGP, if you're changing the dithering, you will have to go into your on-the-fly panel, which is, I call it the on-the-fly panel, to go into here and then go to auto guiding and remove your dither or add your dither, depending if you wanted to do that or not. So I got to go somewhere else to get that. This is all in one place. All right, from here, I can also add additional lines. By adding additional lines, it's going to be the same as me checking more lines off here. If I want to add in, so I could say, for instance, do my lights, then I'll shoot my flats with the flat wizard, then I'm going to go in and shoot my darks, and blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. Or I could just take them off. At this point, I can go ahead and hit go, and it's going to start the sequence and move on its way, which will be the same thing on here if I hit run sequence. So they both operate basically the same way. They're both going to plate solve. When they realize where they're at, they're going to then slew to the target. Once they get to the target, depending on what you entered, it's going to finalize its slew movements and get everything set the way it's supposed to be and start popping away, right? Which is going to bring you basically to your imaging panel. So this is basically from this point forward, this is where you're going to live for the rest of the time in NINA. You're not going to have to go anywhere else from this point forward unless you're changing directories. And when I say directories, if you're changing where you're going to be placing it. Other than that, you're living here. So it's the same exact setup of what you would have here with SGP. There is really no differences other than positioning and placement and a few added features. If you want to see your docking stations here to figure out where they're at, you have to go up to View, go to Docking Modules, and then choose which module you want. Once it pops up, you can then try to fit it in somewhere. And if there's not enough space, you'll get 2 tabs, and then you can pull 1 tab away. You can pull all of them away. I've actually seen people where they've got them all over their desktop, which to me is just, I just can't take that. But here, it's the same exact concept with the exception of you just can't lay them out, right? So basically, View up here, docking modules is the same of just look up here. That's it. That's all there is. So here, if you hover over, it'll tell you, so that's image. This is the main imaging window that you see right here. That's to zoom. That's to zoom out. That is to fit aspect ratio to the area, or I can change the scaling. Also on here as well, if you come over to the other sides here, we have plate solve the current image, which is the same as solve and sync that you would have here on this image. You just have it there. You can also put your bullseye over the picture if you're trying to line anything up. This is going to be your auto stretch, your automatic auto stretch, which is the same as auto stretch here on your histogram. That's just your star detection, your HFR, which is the same as you would have, where's it at? Is it there? No, it's one of these. It is on there. Actually, when the image comes up, I think you have the option then to choose HFR. And then you also have a button off mask analyzer, which is kind of nifty. Then coming across, you have your camera. So there's camera. You have your filter wheel, which there's your filter wheel. There is your focuser, which where's that at? That's here somewhere too. If not, let's bring it up. So let's, yeah, it was there. Where'd it go? Focuser. So yeah, it didn't have any place automatically to stick it. So what it did is it attached it underneath the image, which is the same as if you put 2 of these together. You have 2 tabs that you can work off of. So then you can just go image, focus, whatever you want to use. Now, some things I use, some things I don't. So typically weather I don't have displayed. So I can take my weather off and I can left click hold the focuser, drag it up, and then same concept as SGP. In fact, I think that actually even looks the same. Just drop it in there and it'll change my docking position. So all the way across. Then of course you have a rotator. If you have a rotator, you can put that on there. Your telescope, which is right there, which will give you your connected tracking sidereal meridian. It'll also tell you when your meridian is coming up on the flip, which is the same of what you have. Where's it at over here? you do have the same option in SGP as well as that. In fact, did I double grab it? No, but let's pull this up because we do want to see this. Over here, statistics is going to be the same thing as histogram along with imaging statistics, which this is actually two pieces, which you can put together with two different tabs. Statistics on NINA actually puts it all in one place. So your graph is going to be here. Your statistics will be listed out here, and it also has an optimal exposure calculator, which will tell you, based on the image you just took, of how much it thinks you should to get the optimum exposure time of what you can use based off of its analysis of what it does. I don't know a lot about that one yet. I got to figure that out some more, but it does seem pretty nifty. Anyway, sequence is going to be the same thing over here on your. There it is, sequence. So let's pop that in there. So there's sequence. Focus controls are the same down here, so I can move my focuser in or out with small adjustments or coarse adjustments. Image history, my HFR history. So again, it's all across. You can go all across the top here and add in whatever you want. If you come over to this side, there are tools. So here's your imaging, which is this box here. So if I, like say, change that to 8 seconds with a filter, binning, and then loop it, it would be the exact same thing as if I was using, I should have set this up the way I normally have it. And frame and focus is actually what I'm looking for here. Frame and focus, there we go. So frame and focus would be the same thing as imaging over here, and that would be take one or start. I would do the same thing, however many times, seconds with a filter, binning, loop it, and that would be the same as start, or I can just hit the take one button, which will just take one. Now, what set this aside from SGP is if your camera has the ability for video, you will get two icons here. You will get the camera shutter icon, and then you will get a little video camera icon, so you can actually do video at that point to look at, which will aid you if you're doing, let's say, like a Botanoff mask, rather than just doing seconds. It'll actually provide a video feed coming through. So that's a nice little thing to have. So unlike SGP, which is kind of like snap and play, I mean, you don't have a lot of choices of where you can stick things, really. I mean, it's either side, or you can drag them out like you're doing here, like I've got going on. But you can adjust these here like you would any kind of windows. So you can click drag, you can move things over or under, you can raise things from the bottom up if you're not too concerned about it. If you really want to get a lot big on your PhD graph, you can do that there. You can bring that back down. You can slide these around. So you can basically tailor it however you want to see the image. One of the things that drives me nuts, and I never use it, is the PhD graph in SGP because it is so tiny. I can't get any information off of that. It's pretty much worthless to me. I would rather just go back and forth between PhD graph and SGP. However, in NINA, I can give it a good, fair representation right here of what's going on PhD. So as I'm watching my images come in, as I'm checking where I'm at in the sequence, as I'm watching the statistics roll, as I'm looking to see where my telescope is, as I can see the HFR history of what's going on, I can also see what's going on with my guiding. So this eliminates having to go back and forth between two different programs at least, as well as just to me, again, it's laid out a lot easier, a lot simpler, and it's one of the things that I appreciate about the program is that way. So that was really quick. I know it was quick. If there's a lot of call or demand for it, I'll be glad to break something up over the, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, let's say 7 videos. If there's enough demand for it, I'll break this down into 7 videos of exactly how to connect everything and put it in, load it, put it together if there's a lot of demand. If there's not, this is it. This is what I'm going to give you. I may do it anyway, I don't know. But there's several videos out there on NINA that some of the guys have done, so you're welcome to find that. And as soon as this portion ends, I did do a live shot from the other night of starting everything up and going forward, so you will be able to see it in real time. So before this gets any longer, because I've already been recording for about 30 minutes, and I know I got to weed out a couple pieces in here, but there you go. So I hope I answered all your questions. If not, feel free to drop me a line. And again, if there's enough call, I'll do some more videos on NINA. All right. Thanks a lot.